Okay, this video might annoy some people, because I know that the film that I'm going to talk about today is beloved by a lot of people and has a lot of hardcore fans. I'm going to talk about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Okay, where to start? Right, so I'm gonna mainly talk about my problems with the film in this video, but I want to start off by saying that I don't dislike the movie. I like the movie a lot. It's in my top 3 Spider-Man movies. It, as an animated film, it's one of the best superhero animated films, if not the best animated superhero film. It's the animation style is spot on. It's exactly what you should go for, and what other animated superhero movies in the future should take inspiration from. And to be honest, it's what the Marvel What If series should have taken inspiration from, apart from what we've seen, where it looks more like the Disney XD shows, which look terrible. But hopefully What If has like a different animation style with each episode, which would make more sense, honestly. I do like the characterization of Miles. It made me care about Miles, which is something that the comics have been trying to do for the last 7 or 8 years, and I just have never gotten on board with the character. This movie gets me on board with the character. I care about him. I care about his relationship with his family, his relationship with his dad, his relationship with his uncle. I am going to touch on that later, but I feel like they got Miles right, and they finally found their niche with Miles, and that is that he is a very ground level superhero that works well among others. He doesn't really work well on his own. He works well with other Spider-Man, the champions, with Peter Parker. He works well when he's bouncing off other people. He doesn't work well when he's kind of on his own. I like all the different versions of Spider-Man, especially Spider-Man Noir. I feel like this is probably Nicolas Cage's best role. The guy that they got to voice Peter Parker, the alternate one, he did a great job. He did an excellent job, actually. I really like that characterization of kind of depressed, fat, lazy Peter Parker that's kind of middle-aged and divorced, and he's kind of hit rock bottom, and then he has to come in, and he sees a Spider-Man that's just died, that was him, younger, more handsome, and beloved by everyone. But yeah, I really like the good guys in this movie. I like Spider-Man Noir, I like Miles, I like Peter, I like Spider-Ham. Spider-Ham is very funny. There's Gwen Stacy is in it. She's fine. She works. She serves her purpose. There is another Spider character, the Asian one, which she kind of gets forgotten about in the whole mix of everything. She doesn't really have a lot of She doesn't really do a lot. She doesn't have a lot of dialogue. She doesn't have a lot of lines. She's just kind of there for the sake of being there. And talking about there for the sake of being there, I'm going to talk about my main problem with the film, which is the villains. The villains, oh boy. If you thought the MCU couldn't do good villains, yeah. So we're going to talk about the main villain, Wilson Fisk, who looks more like the Blob, to be honest. I don't know why they decided to go with that design. Probably because the whole movie is kind of this bombastic, stylistic kind of animated style, but everything else looks completely beautiful. And then you just got Wilson Fisk, who looks like this big, massive Play-Doh thing with a tiny little head and a tiny face. I guess they tried to do that for a stylistic choice, but it just looks ugly. In fact, all of the villains do look kind of ugly, apart from Dr. Octopus. Dr. Octopus actually works for the choice and the stylistic nature of this film. Same with the Prowler. The Prowler works exceedingly well with this animated style, and I like how they decided to tone him down a bit. They kind of went all out with the designs of everyone else, which works for Dr. Octopus, doesn't work for any of the others. And Prowler, they kind of kept him. It's a very bombastic design, but they kept him very. He's all purple. It's a very dark purple instead of in the comics where he's a vibrant green and mixed with a vibrant purple. Here it's just purple and maybe a muddy green that's there, and he's got more spikes, and he looks honestly very threatening. And add in the plot twist that he's Miles' uncle, which if you had any knowledge of Ultimate Spider-Man or of Miles Morales before this, you'd see that coming off a mile off. I mean, to be honest, you see that coming off a mile off anyway, even if you haven't. But it's done well until the point where they decide to kill off the Prowler or Uncle Aaron. I feel like that scene is very, very rushed, and they should have left the Prowler finding out that Miles is Spider-Man for the very end of the film, and they would then team up when all the other Spider-Men went into their other dimensions, and then we'd see that team up. I really don't like the decision that they made to do with the Prowler, where they just kill him off in the middle of the film, and it's that was your best villain, that was your most interesting character in the entire film, and you kill him off halfway for the most bland version of Wilson Fisk we've ever seen in any media. My first problem with Wilson Fisk being in this movie is that they don't do anything cool with him. They don't do anything interesting with him. They give him a sad backstory which doesn't even fit in line with the character or in line with the characters that are on show. For first off, he has a son, which he's never had a son, and secondly, his wife or girlfriend Vanessa is appalled with his criminal antics, when actually Vanessa is kind of a point that keeps him on the ground level, and B, Vanessa is kind of what keeps Wilson Fisk from doing some really heinous things. But B, Vanessa does kind of approve of Wilson Fisk's criminal tendencies. She's not completely against him like she is in this film, where she finds Wilson Fisk fighting Spider-Man, and they then decides to drive off and get hit by a car. And that's kind of my main problem, is that the film obviously didn't, really care what villains they were putting in. They just kind of put in some people for Spider-Man to punch, and had to make a backstory. So just look at like the first paragraph in the Wikipedia page and we'll be fine. No. No. Also, another problem is why decide to do Wilson Fisk when you already had the Daredevil show that was coming out in the same year doing Wilson Fisk, and they did Wilson Fisk so well. Why would you decide to try and replicate that but not get any of the essence of the character in there? I feel like with Wilson Fisk you either do him right or you don't do him at all. I feel like this movie shouldn't have done him at all. There are other like side villains in the film. Dr. Octopus, like I said, she actually works as a visual standpoint. She doesn't really do that much in the movie. She's just something for them to punch. But as a stylistic villain and working with the animation style that they have, Dr. Octopus works. Dr. Octopus is a good villain in this film, and she works for the point that they are for the style that they're trying to make with this film. Tombstone's in the movie for some reason. I don't even think he actually gets a fight scene. He may get a fight scene. I don't remember him getting a fight scene. I don't remember a line that he says in the movie. And that's another problem that I have with the film. I can remember lines that were said from the original Green Goblin in the 2001 movie. I can remember lines that Dr. Octopus said in the 2002 movie. I can even remember lines from Venom. I can remember lines from Venom that he said in Spider-Man 3. I can remember lines from Amazing Spider-Man 1, Amazing Spider-Man 2. I can remember lines from Homecoming, and I can, I haven't seen Far From Home, so I don't know. And I can remember lines from the PS4 game. I don't remember anything that Wilson Fisk says. I don't remember anything that Dr. Octopus says. I don't remember anything that any of the villains say in this movie. They don't have any quotable lines. They don't have anything that, any scenes where they're in that makes you think, wow, I'm scared of this villain. And again, I hate to bring it back to Daredevil, but Daredevil had that brilliant scene with Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock in the courtroom. And yeah, that's in season 2. And yeah, the scene is in season 2, but still, they have that scene where Wilson Fisk is literally laying into Matt Murdock in the court in this interrogation room, and that scene made me actually scared of that version of Wilson Fisk. It made me actually have a little. It made me kind of it got me engrossed in the scene, and it got me engrossed in the show. And it works to show that, damn, this villain means business. There's no scene like that in Spider-Verse. There is a scene where Wilson Fisk kills off the ultimate version of Spider-Man before Miles even, knows of any of this, or knows of any of the kind of, or anything to do with the Spider-Man, stuff. When he just finds out that he has powers, and then he runs into his universe's version of Spider-Man, and then Kingpin kills that version of Spider-Man. And yeah, the scene after that, where it's the funeral, and everyone's mourning him, that scene made me tear. It made me like tear up a bit. But the scene before that, where he actually gets killed, I didn't care. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel fear about the villain. All I saw was kind of this what looked like an inflatable just punching Spider-Man, and it didn't feel like there was any impact. It didn't have any impact on me. The funeral did, because you had Mary Jane talking about how much she loved this guy, and then Miles is just watching Mary Jane, and he's like, "Fuck, these are the boots that I have to fill," and it's like that's like tear jerking, because anyone can relate to that. It's where you go in anywhere, and someone's like, something you learn as a like young adult is that whatever you decide to do in life, someone has been there before and done it better than you, and you have to take from them. And when you watch the person that's done the thing better than you, and then they go, when you look at your inspiration, and then your inspiration leaves or dies or goes away or retires or whatever, it's heartbreaking. And that scene made me tear up, because that's exactly what I got from that. But I didn't get anything from Wilson Fisk. I didn't care about him at all in the film. It just didn't work for me. And the whole plot line with it being like kind of this big, like, the city could be destroyed plot, and having in the center of it a street level villain and surrounded by other street level villains, kind of took away from the whole urgency of it, and the fact that it's kind of got nothing to do with Miles. The film, the fact that none of the actual villains, apart from the Prowler, actually connect to Miles in any way, and there's no emotional attachment between Miles and the Kingpin. You don't care when they actually have their big fight at the end. You kind of do, because Wilson Fisk is the guy who killed his uncle, but you don't have that emotional connection from the get-go. I feel like if the Prowler would have stayed in the film for longer, you would have had that emotional, like, kind of crux in the final fight. But as the way it is now, no, I didn't feel any emotion in that final fight. All I saw was, wow, this looks pretty. I like the animation, but I'm not getting anything from the story. if you know what I mean. It and I really don't like saying this, because I actually am a fan of this film, but I feel like the villains were kind of an afterthought. They were kind of like, we want to make this movie, we want to make Miles Morales relevant, we want to put a ton of emotion into it, we want to make it a coming of age story, we want people to care about Miles Morales, and we want to put other versions of Spider-Man in there so that people know, and we can have a film that shows just how bombastic and just how outlandish Spider-Man is and the Spider-Verse is. Yet we don't actually see how bombastic the Spider-Verse is, because half of the Spider-Man characters that are introduced halfway through the film don't get enough runtime, and we just don't remember anything about them, apart from maybe Spider-Man Noir, where he makes an impact because he's just so depressed all the time. And I, it is kind of weird how, like, no one kind of made this point when the film came out. Is like, yeah, the film's amazing. The film, as from a technical standpoint, works wonders and deserves all the praise that it's gotten. But as a storytelling kind of, but as a movie, as it works as a film, as a movie to tell a story, it doesn't tell one that's that captivating. I feel like it would have told one more captivating if it was just Miles, just Prowler, and it was a complete, and it completely ironed out or removed all of the stuff to do with the Spider-Verse, all of the stuff to do with the Kingpin, and removed all of that. You could have, like, at the start of the film, we see Spider-Man, like Peter Parker, die in a fight with the Ultimate Green Goblin, and they both die, and that's the setup for the film. And we see Miles Morales watching the fight and watching, Peter Parker die, and that's the introduction. And then the rest of the film, the Green Goblin is not mentioned again. The Peter Parker not mentioned again. The rest of the film is Miles Morales going through and then ending with the fight with Prowler, and he finds out that the Prowler is his uncle, and his uncle finds out that Spider-Man is his nephew, and they initially and they end up having to send Uncle Aaron to prison, where he ends up getting broken out by Silver Sable, and that kind of leads to something else. And they could have had Spider-Verse be the end point to that, and they could have built up to Spider-Verse being kind of the Avengers moment of this, not just say, hey, look, we need to have something big come out right out the gate. But why? Well, why? Don't get me wrong. I do really like Spider-Verse as a movie. It's technically well made, but it's not by any means terrible. It's just flawed. It is flawed as a film. It is flawed, and I feel like if they went around it a certain other way, then yeah, it would have been like 10 times better if they just focused solely on Miles Morales and left all of the other stuff out of the film, and just call it Spider-Man, or just call it like Ultimate Spider-Man, and have it just be a Miles Morales solo movie. That would have been so much better, and just have the Prowler be the main villain. But if you want to do a big Spider-Verse event movie, why pick Kingpin, and why have Tombstone in it? Why have Scorpion in it? And why make Scorpion the most ugly design ever? I mean, where did they a bit more emotional impact in it. Morlun. Why not? Why not have Morlun and the family of Morlun? You know, the villains that actually deal with the Spider-Verse and that actually, you know, fight the different versions of the Spider-Man, Spider People. Why not do that? Or why not, even better, take one villain from each of the Spider-Man universes that the film pulls its Spider-Man from. So you have a guy from the main, like, from Miles's universe, Prowler. You have a guy from, you know, Peter Parker's universe, be it like his version of Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. You have someone from Spider-Ham's universe, his version of Venom. You have someone from Gwen Stacy's universe, the Lizard, and you have someone from Spider-Man Noir's universe, the Vulture. Who am I missing? Oh yeah, you've got the mech woman. I don't know, the Spot. I don't know. Yeah, someone that's like overly mechanical, like Dr. Octopus or something. I don't know anything about her universe. But you could have done that, or you could have had Morlun. I don't see why you decided to pick a load of street level villains and have them be the villains of this big city-wide kind of blow up the city big event, Spider-Verse, you know, whatchamacallit. And it is very, you know, it is very, like, weird. Because I don't understand how the film can be so... I don't understand how a film can have so much money and time put into it, and they oversight something as important as the villain. Because it is obvious watching it that the villains are an overthought or like afterthought. It's just obvious. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Please don't get too annoyed at me in the comments. This is just my opinion, and like I said throughout the video, I do like Into the Spider-Verse. I think it's a good film. I really love the animation style. It's just got flaws, and I feel like someone needs to talk about those flaws. But yeah, that's just my opinion. You're entitled to your own. If you love the movie and you love the Kingpin being in the movie, you're entitled to think that the Kingpin is an amazing villain for this, like, massive, large-scale storyline. You know, you're entitled to that opinion. I don't share it, and you're wrong, but you're entitled to that opinion. Anyways, adios. I will see you in the next video. Follow my Instagram, my Twitter, my Twitch, which I will probably start soon. I'm hoping to start soon. If not, I'll probably just start live streaming on here again. I did that one live stream the other day, and I want to start getting back into that. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.